following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back into another episode of the Uptempo Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Lane, here tonight with my co-host, Dustin Smith. Like always, Dustin, man, we're here to talk a little Auburn sports talk. We're going to touch baseball, basketball, football, everything, man. Going to talk a little Deion Sanders out at Colorado, everything that's happening there in the transfer portal, man. A lot of stuff going down out there. And Deion, he don't hold back, man. He went on the Pat McAfee show and all that good stuff. And he got a little laugh out of it, and so did Pat. So a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, man. The NFL draft's happening tonight, man. That's my Panthers with the number 1 overall pick, dude. Like, I hope it's Bryce Young.
I think it is. Yeah.
I think it is, but I was kind of following a little Panthers media and everything, and they were like, oh, well, we've heard Will Levis's name a lot today, and I was just like, no way, you know. Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, dude, like, don't mess it up. You know, if you go outside of that, poverty franchise for years to come, I believe. But, man, let's kick this thing off with some Auburn baseball real quick. We had a big opportunity in the midweek, a chance to raise the RPI a little bit, taking on the in-state Troy Trojans, they're a hell of a ball club, man. Let's be honest. I think their RPI sat around 32, 33, somewhere in there. We're right below them. And we come out in the first inning, Dustin, and we just hit the piss out of the baseball, man. We're slapping it all around the yard. Bobby Barrels was locked in. Cooper McMurray, he singled right there in the first, and we drive home 6 runs, man, and then the bats go absolutely ice cold. I think we didn't score again until the 8th when we were down 8-6. So, man, we get a 6-1 lead, Dustin, in the midweek against Troy, and our bullpen somehow can't find a way to lock this thing down when you're still in a must-win situation. Let's don't get away from that, people. All right? This baseball team needs as many victories as possible right now. And you're up 5 runs, you're walking people. You're giving up bombs. All right. You're not competitive and you're hitting batters. Like, it's the same thing week in, week out, night after night. It's the same stuff, Dustin. What are your thoughts on the midweek loss to Troy, man?
Well, I said after the Alabama series, I felt like we needed to go 5-0 in the upcoming. I felt like we needed to sweep Mississippi State and then win the midweek series game last week, which we ultimately ended up doing, and then getting this game versus Troy. Because I just look at what you had coming up this weekend. And I think it's easy to discount, especially when you start SEC play. It's easy to discount the midweek. But we've lost 3 of the last 4 midweek games, and those stack up. And now you're going on the road where we're 3-9 away from Plainsman. So, it's just I feel like you really needed to win this game. Like you said, Troy's in the low 30s in RPI. I believe it was 32nd. So a big opportunity, right? And you just had the huge lead. And this Auburn team is not a team I could ever imagine like being a betting on, because being down 8-1 with 1 out to go in the game, they might come back and win. And being up 8-0 Friday night versus Alabama, they might blow it. Like they you just don't know. So and you saw that unfortunately last night, big lead, and you just can't close it out. It's frustrating, man. It really is. This is not a shot at Justin Kirby. I don't think Justin Kirby is a bad baseball player. Like, by no means is he, he's very serviceable. He's solid. He's not a guy where you're like, oh, what's going on here? Yep. I think he's batting around like 270-ish. He can hit for power, obviously. So he's not a bad baseball player at all. But Chris Stanfield is just producing at a higher rate. So even though it's a midweek game, I just don't get it. Like, this is a midweek game that you need to have. This is a midweek game that looks good on your resume when at the end of the season, Troy's a tournament team. So they made multiple they said it multiple times during the broadcast last night. Troy's trying to get to the point to where they host a regional. Will they get there? I don't know, but like that's their goal, and it's not unattainable for them. They're looking at about a 2 seed right now, so like they're a solid baseball team, man. And we just another opportunity that we missed. So you're running out of these opportunities. You're running out of them. So you better start taking advantage of them this weekend and next weekend. You better start winning these midweek games, man. They're stacking up. That's 3 losses now in a month that you've accumulated in midweek games to in-state schools that you can beat.
Man, Dustin, I mean, it's painful, dude. It's painful, and it's hard to get words that you have opportunity after opportunity, and you keep letting these things slip away, man. Let's be honest. We should have swept Mississippi State. All right, we should have swept Mississippi State. That game too. Christian Herberholtz throws his ass off. All right. And you find a way to somehow lose that game, even after the comeback. All right. You find a way to lose a game. And we always say on this podcast, bad teams find ways to lose games, multiple ways to lose games. And that's exactly what's happening, man. It is the bats are sporadic. All right. 1 minute they're sky high. The next minute you can't hit a lick. And you see it on the weekends, man. Look at the Florida series, man. Like you come out, you beat the piss out of Florida, and then you come back and it's like you're down and out, man. Like you can't hit, and it's just I don't know. It's tough, man. Like they're so up and down, and I put on Twitter the other day that I felt like now after this loss, this forces you to have to win a series against South Carolina or LSU. Like I'm to the point where I don't think beating Ole Miss and Missouri gets you in. Like I don't care if you do take a game against South Carolina and LSU. I'm to the point where I think you might have to win one of these series because you've let the midweek stack up. And let's just say, dude, it's so hard to sweep somebody. Is Auburn gonna sweep Ole Miss? I mean, at this point, I don't think we're sweeping anybody.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it at all.
And that's my point, is how the bats are so sporadic, the bullpen being as bad as it is. I just don't know how you can look at the rest of the schedule and say, oh, well, if they take 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss and they take 2 out of 3 from Mizzou, that'll get you in. I'm sorry, I disagree, man. Like, I think you're going to have to take, even if you take 1 from South Carolina, like, I think you have to find a way to beat LSU. Or if you take, 1 from LSU, then you got to be coming off a series win at South Carolina. If you go to South Carolina and you win that series, you're in the tournament. Because you're in the tournament. So all of these people who are saying, oh, well, if we just take 1 here, why don't you just lock the damn thing in and beat somebody?
Right.
That's what I'm getting at, is like, lock it in, man. Stop flirting with it and lock it in. Go on the road to South Carolina this weekend and win 2 games. If you do that, you're in the tournament, because you should take care of business at Ole Miss and you should beat Missouri at home, Dustin. Let's be honest, man. I mean, I'm just to the point, man, where, like you said, there's no way you can bet on Auburn, because one night you pitch well and you don't hit. The next night you pitch terribly and you do hit. So, and we all know on Sundays you better score 13, 14, 15, because
25.
You know what you're going to get. Yeah, man, that Georgia game, I said that too when D1 baseball threw out their little rankings and everything, and Auburn was still on the first 5 out. They were the number 1 team on the first 5 out. So which means they're the first team that's left out of the tournament. And a guy gets on there and he says, well, Auburn beat Georgia and they're in the tournament. And I was like, well, yeah, they are. But, that Sunday they also put up a football number on us. So it looked like Kirby Smart out there. So, yeah, they just swept Arkansas too, who swept us. So it kind of looks like the trajectory of the two teams. Georgia's here, Auburn's here. Southern Cal was in the tournament. They were one of the last 5 teams in. And they said, well, Auburn beat Southern Cal too. And I'm like, yeah, but that Sunday you had a 4-run lead and you blew it and you ended up tying. Twice. Yeah, you had twice. Yeah, great point. You had twice. 2 4-run leads and you blew both of them and you ended up tying. And then you look at Indiana, Dustin. You had a chance to sweep Indiana. And you even had Joseph Gonzalez, who we'll talk about in here in just a minute. You even had him in that series, and you still couldn't sweep Indiana. They beat you to sleep that Sunday. So, I kind of throw my hands up with it at this point, man. I feel like you got to go on the road to South Carolina or have LSU at your crib and find a way to win 2 out of 3, man. I don't just in one of those series, Dustin. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said, man. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it too. You're not totally out of it, but you got to start winning game. I mean, this is it. You've only got 4 series left, so you better start winning them. I mean,
and Dustin, my thing is, okay, you've beat Georgia in an SEC series. You've beaten Mississippi State in an SEC series. I mean, you have a series lost against Southeastern Louisiana on your resume. Don't get me wrong, not knocking them. They're a great program, great ball club. But that's a series you got to win, man. Now that is on the bad side of your resume. So where are all your series dubs? Yeah, you got Indiana and USC and Georgia, but Mississippi State's no longer projected in the tournament. So you got to start racking up some SEC series dubs, man. And Ole Miss and Missouri, who are both sitting at the bottom of their divisions. Come on, man. Like, we need something astronomical, right? You have 2 huge opportunities. Yeah. So we got to make something shake, Dustin. And leading into Gonzo, man, and we get the news this morning. Lindsey Crosby, he breaks it that it's something that everybody kind of expected, that Gonzo is officially out for the remainder of the regular season. And you called this, Dustin. Let's be straight up, man. You called it week 1 or week 2 into the season. You told me, you said, Blake, he's done pitching for Auburn University. And of course, I said, well, let's hold on. We don't really know all the details. And you said, no, he's not coming back. He pitched for Team USA over the summer, and it just, injury. Is he going to the draft? Whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to get on here and say that he's flunking out for the draft. I'm not going to do that, Dustin. That's not, I'm just not going to put that on the kid's name, right? And so I have my opinion, but it sucks, man. It's like a gut punch, because you're expecting this guy to come back, who we've said, if he does come back, we're sitting here thinking, okay, well, now you got Tommyville Friday, you can throw Gonzo Saturday, and then you've been able to rely on Christian Herberholtz, who has had back-to-back phenomenal starts. And I think that's a pretty damn good 3-man. I mean, Friday, Saturday, Sunday right there. So that's why we were getting our hopes way up here for Gonzo to come back, man. And then, you just get this heartbreaking news. And like I said, gut punch, dude. Gut punch. Absolutely just kind of ripped my heart out. And I even posted on Twitter, a dude jumping off the top of a building, because I said, here we go. It's just one thing after another, Dustin.
Yeah, somebody had posted on the bulletin, is there a dead Indian burial ground underneath our pitcher mound? And I thought that was pretty funny, because it always seems to be the pitchers that get the season enders, right? Yep. But listen, dude, there's a reason why I never have any inside information. I just watch a lot of sports. And usually if a guy has a injury issue, that's not like a break or a tear or something where you have like a strong recovery time. Mm-hmm. And then he ended the season with it. It lingered with him through the offseason, but you still let him pitch for Team USA. And then he misses the entire preseason. And then he comes and he throws 50-something pitches the first weekend. And then all of a sudden he's going to be out for a little bit. Like, at that point, it's just like, hey, man, like I said, I've just watched a lot of sports and I know how that goes. It's very rare in those kind of situations when all of a sudden, boom, he gets right and he comes back and he's good to go. And it's a coach's job to protect his players. So I'm not like saying that anybody's lying or this, that, and the other. I watched the Bush Thompson press conferences, and whenever he talked about Gonzo, for whatever reason, I just didn't believe what he was saying. Basically, like it just I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't say this is why. I don't have a motive. Like I don't know, but it just never seemed to me like I don't know. It just never seemed like they're being completely honest, or at the very least, it seemed like they were kind of painting some sunshine on a situation that was a little bit worse than what they were portraying. Or maybe they were hopeful, man. I don't know. But to me, it just didn't. I just wasn't buying it for whatever reason. And it's not. I'm not saying like they did anything wrong or some sinister plan, nothing like that. It's just because I don't know the details. There could be a very good reason as to why. And like I said, maybe they were being honest. But just outside looking in, this is why from week one, I was saying, I don't know, man. This just something doesn't seem right here. So that's kind of why I've had that opinion. So to me today, this was to quote Pat McAfee, this was how you doing, keep moving. Like he's been out of my mind.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the stuff coming up last week and everybody's going to pitch to South Carolina, would I text you back? No, he's not.
Yep.
Like this is just not. I'm done with it. It's just the same way. I don't believe there's a mystery small forward out there that's locked into Auburn and just not telling anybody. That's the same way I don't believe there's just some mystery quarterback out there that's going to drop out in the 72 hours we got left in the portal and come save the day for Auburn football. Like, I'm not buying any of that stuff, man. So
I actually like what Tay had to say on Twitter today. He said, I'll ride with Robbie and Holden before I clean up any of this mess in the portal.
They're not. There's nobody in there that get out of here, man. Not one of those guys.
Yeah. So yeah, man, with Gonzo, dude, I was at the Indiana series, and when I watched him pitch, I said, hey, look, I looked at my wife. I said, we're going to be special this year. Like if this guy is giving you 5 innings, 1 hit baseball, no runs on 50 pitches, I mean, we're going to be special. In Indiana, as you see, they're going to be in the tournament. All right. And we all know, man, we've seen Indiana make runs to Omaha and super regionals. And we know that, they're a big to-do in Big Ten baseball. So it just felt like a special season once again. And we were going to start stacking these things. We weren't going to have that let down nosedive year like 2021. Right. And this injury just flat out, it freaking sucks, man. It sucks. It's painful. And I know, like you said, it's out of your mind, but it's still lingering there for me because I'm torn, man. Like, and you know what, Dustin, if he does, feel like he's a draft pick, good for Joseph Gonzalez, man. That is another guy that Auburn can point to and say, hey, look, all right, this guy right here, he played at Auburn. All right. If you want to make your way to the league, you come here and play baseball. All right. Because I believe it was Vandy last year. He absolutely shoved. Nobody gave us a shot to win that baseball game. And he went in there and I believe we beat him like 8-2 or something like that. And he absolutely threw a gem, man. He threw a gem at Tennessee last year. That was game 3, I believe it was, the rubber match, and he made one mistake and they hit it a mile. But other than that, dude threw a gem.
Here's the thing too, Blake, that really kills you looking at the way our season has gone and the way our bullpen has struggled, is that Gonzo was a guy that can get to 6-7 innings and only have thrown 60 pitches. He's not a strikeout guy. He doesn't walk a lot of guys either. He's a contact guy. So one of 2 things happens. He's getting ground balls, or like you said, he's making mistakes and that sinker ball's not sinking and they're hitting him yard, and then he's out of there. So like that's how he gets run, though. He doesn't get run from walking a lot of guys. He's going to have his control. That's just if he's going to be getting hit around the yard on his bad days. So when he's on, though, you don't really have to mess with your bullpen because, like I said, you look up and you're like, oh, damn, dude, we're in the 7th inning and he's got 50, 65 pitches. Like, we're good to go here. So that's that part of it, too. Like, he's a guy that saves your bullpen. And, I mean, we've seen Gonzo go deep plenty of times. And that's obviously – having that would be huge because even in Tommy and Herbert Holtz's good starts, you're not getting 7. You're getting 5 2/3, 6 2/3, stuff like that. So it would be nice to have a guy that can come in and eat up 7, 8 for us one day out of the weekend.
Very true, man. Very true. Look, don't give up on the team just yet, people. All right, don't give up on them just yet. We got 2 major series coming up back to back. Hopefully we can shake something out, make something happen. Hopefully we can get up there this weekend. Tommy Vale can continue his dominance. Would love to see that. Hopefully Christian Herbert Holtz can continue to put his foot down and continue greatness, man. He has absolutely stepped up in the role that he has been put in. And it's been phenomenal to watch because we saw his early season struggles. And we just pray this bullpen, man. Look, we always say it, Dustin. I've said it a million times. I can live with getting hit around the yard. I can't live with walking 30 people a series. All right. I can't do it, man. Like, I can't. So let's go win a series. Let's try to win both of these things back to back, man. And then damn well you're in then.
Yeah,
all right.
Good.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that we can't win them. All right. I know South Carolina just swept Florida. That's fine. All right. But LSU, man, they struggled with Ole Miss a little bit. Ole Miss had the lead on them twice. All right. I think it was game 2 and game 3. Ole Miss led in both of those games. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that we can't do it. If we can find a way to get to Paul Skeens and somehow Tommy Vale can match that, and somehow we love to sneak out game 1 victories, anything's possible. I might be wearing some orange and blue goggles right now, but just don't give up on this baseball team, man. So, hopefully we can get up there and get a series dub, man. But look, Dustin, let's move on to basketball. Auburn basketball. A lot of things chirping, a lot of things going around social media. I know that we haven't really spoken on the Labaron Philon decommitment from Auburn. We've heard that he's following West to Ole Miss and everything. He come out publicly and said that he wanted to be a true point guard for somebody, and he didn't feel like that was going to happen at Auburn with Pettiford coming in. We've seen what Pettiford can do. I mean, absolute highlight reel. Hey, you're going to have decommitments. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, look, don't really get upset about it. It is what it is. I think you're still happy with what you got coming in. And I feel the same way. If a kid doesn't want to be here, he doesn't want to be here. Okay. That's how I feel about it, man. So, Dustin, how do you feel about the Labaron decommitment, man, and everything that's happened with Wes?
I think it sucks because I don't think I've ever been higher on a basketball player that I've watched in person. And that's including DeMarcus Cousins. So I feel like that highly about LeBaron's game. But like you said, man, and I talked about it whenever I went to the game that night where he committed. I stood right next to Wes Flanagan for the entire game, and LeBaron's parents are right in front of me. There was constant communication back. Like, it was very clear that, like, Wes was the guy. I mean, they were close. So there's no denying that. I just thought we were okay because the understanding was that him and Pettiford had become really good friends, and Bruce had been kind of as part of his plan. He had kind of put them together for like 2 years. So to say now that you want to be a true point guard, it's like, okay, well, you kind of knew the plan the whole time. Yeah. So I think that Wes, had a big thing to do with that, and I think that Bruce kind of had was the reason for the Peyton Marshall decommitment. It sounded like we were the ones making that there. But all of a sudden, you had 3 guys, with Peyton being the lowest rated, being a 4-star. You had 2 5-star. I mean, you were looking at a top class. Now you've only got one of those guys. So you're kind of restarting. You still got a couple guys you got to go get. You got to go get another guard. So, yeah, it was just a lot of stuff to do, man. I'm not going to lie, like, pretty discouraging news on a Friday at 7 a.m. to wake up to. Like, man. So I'm not too thrilled about this one. I can't really sugarcoat it, but it's not like the end of the program type thing. When you get a kid to commit in his junior year, these kind of things can happen and stuff like that. So it is what it is. I know they said that, like, we're going to still try to recruit him. When you decommit, man, I feel like the boat, 99 times.
Yeah.
A ship sailed. So I don't see that really being a thing, but Bruce got a plan, and he's going to try, dude. Like, it's not from lack of effort. He's putting in the work. So we'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah. And, not too far after that, man, not too much later, you get a commitment, and you add Chaney Johnson from the transfer portal, from the D2 ranks, but Bruce has seen him in action. All right. And, all of these people are like, oh, well, he was D2. Look, I don't care if you can hoop, point blank period. He went in, I think he put up like 14 on Auburn in an exhibition game. He's 6'7", 215, man, averaging 13.8 points per game, 54% from the field, 37% from 3. I will take that any day of the week right now, because we know how bad the Auburn Tigers struggle from behind the arc, man, and 5.2 rebounds per game. So how do you feel about Chaney Johnson and this pickup after losing Labaron Philon?
This is a nice depth piece, and it's, like you mentioned in that preseason game right there before the season started. We didn't get to see it, but it was just on the radio. But the word is that he balled on Johan, which is very believable. So
UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah, right? Man. Yeah. Well, what a missed evaluation by everybody. I thought more of I missed too. I was saying he was Chumo Kiki type trajectory after Israel, and that is not what happened. But it's a nice depth piece, man, and I think he's a guy that understands his role coming in. When Jalen needs a breather, going to give you 12 to 15 minutes a game. But I like adding a guy that he can also play the 3 spot. So I like adding guys that can play multiple spots off the bench, understands he's going to be coming off the bench. He was a conference player of the year at was it Alabama Huntsville? So yeah, dude, it's just a nice depth piece. It's nice to have a guy coming off your bench that's played 3 years of college basketball, and he started in 2020, so he's technically listed still as a sophomore because he started in that COVID situation. So he still has a couple years of eligibility left. So it's a nice depth piece. He's versatile. He's experienced. He shoots at a high percentage, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, a high IQ guy. That's a team guy, will be good for your locker room. I just think it's a win all around, man. He's not a guy that's going to ever light the world on fire, but you kind of seen when we get into these tight games when we're in Fayetteville, it just doesn't seem to me like we can match up. We like to play 10 guys, but I don't know how good these last couple of years our 7, 8, 9, and 10 have kind of been. We're kind of we need a boost. We need a boost off the bench, and I think that Chaney's definitely going to add that.
Lior's coming back though. How about that?
Cool beans.
Oh goodness, man. There's some question marks still on the roster, man. Nobody really knows what Flan's doing. Apparently there's a mystery player out there. I don't believe that 1 second. And I know you've mentioned that. Excuse me.
That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites, because it's like, dude, it's really, if you believe that, it's just a test of how long you've been an Auburn fan. If you've been an Auburn fan 5 years, then maybe you think there's a mystery 3 out there averaging 30 points a game that's about to come to Auburn. Maybe, but like, if you've been in this game 30 plus years, like me and Blake, and a lot of people that are listening, you ain't buying that crap. And you know that if it is true, his major sports management, so he ain't gonna be able to enroll anyway.
Yeah. I just can't buy it, man. Like I can't get on the train of just there's magically some mystery guy out there that just hasn't committed yet, and he's just waiting to break the ice over the social media platforms and all of this stuff. Like, I'm not buying it until I see it happen. All right. Because as an Auburn fan, like you just mentioned, man, we get so up here, we get so high, so just to the moon, man, and then all of a sudden it just comes crashing down, just and we get nothing. All right. I mean, it's happened in football. I know, damn, Tony Mitchell the night before, the signing of his letter of intent, people were saying, oh, Tony Mitchell's flipping. I mean, thank goodness we avoided that trap. But, you got Auburn fans just through the roof. You sent them to outer space, man. We were just, oh, my God, Tony Mitchell. And we got a beat writer stranded at a Bojangles. So, I mean, there you go.
Think about this. Grayson McCall was going to come to Auburn that weekend that it opened up and was going to commit to Auburn.
Yeah.
That's not a secret. And he wants to be at Auburn, and Auburn wants him to be there. And it still isn't going to happen. So if you want me to believe that there's a magic person out there that's just going to swoop in the night and shock everybody,
so you're saying there's not a mystery quarterback out there that's going to come in and take Robbie Ashford's job?
No. And we're running out of time. And I don't know how many times people are going to write articles or do shows asking the question, is Auburn starting quarterback on the roster? I just can't wait for Monday because all this football wise is going to be over with this portal. And we'll know what it is. Cause man, this is crazy, bro. Like, this not what even makes you think that everybody in the portal is not better than Robbie, or and if they are, it's at such a small margin that you can't tell. So so you're saying there's somebody out there then that hasn't entered the portal yet, that it's Thursday right now. So if they're doing and it ends Sunday. So if they're doing a visit, they've got 48 hours to get it done. So nah, man, I don't know if people are trying to push content with that or what that is. And I'm not trying to take shots at anybody or anything like that. It's just, I don't see it. And then with some of the stuff, man, when Lane Kiffin was openly saying, I'm not going to Auburn, he was tweeting out stuff making fun of Auburn. Me and you still had people that are in the know who are right a lot of times messaging us saying it's still Lane Kiffin. I'm telling you, I don't know why he's doing what he's doing, but it's still Lane Kiffin. And me and you were texting back and forth then he's playing the craziest game ever. It sure looks like he doesn't, and it just, so sometimes, man, I don't know if people have a certain, I don't know, but nah, man, I'm not buying any of that. I'm just not.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to buy it, right? I mean, nothing's really happened. And I think Hugh even come out and said this is a slow portal window. He hasn't really seen anything. He's come out and said that he's not offering anybody that he hasn't seen throw, things like that, man. It's just, we're to the point where what quarterback up to this point, there's still time left. Some news could break tomorrow when everybody's watching this. And some massive quarterback hit the portal and come to Auburn. I don't know. But as of now, I can't look at one person out there and say, you know what? That guy would come in and just sweep Robbie smooth off the mat, bro. He would just come in and bump him down to number 2 and bump Holden to number 3 and force him to transfer and everything. I just can't see it. I can't see it.
I'm with you. And think about this. One thing to remember, dude, he would have to be experienced, right? Because you just missed all the spring. So it would have to be a veteran guy that you could trust that would pick up the system in the fall with only 4 weeks to go and be ready to roll week 1. There's no veteran guys like that are about to hit the portal this weekend. We're we're out of time, dude. That ship has sailed, man. It's not going to happen.
And like the kid from Notre Dame, all right, why are we sitting here saying that there's a chance he could come to Auburn? We all know there was zero chance that he was coming to Auburn. Zero. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Tommy Rees is at Alabama. All right. He is their offensive coordinator. The kid wasn't coming to Auburn. All right. It's not happening. He's going to follow his offensive coordinator. So what are we just – is that clicks? Is it like – I mean, why are we even saying that, oh, he was locked into Alabama 100%? Like, come on, man.
I think it is clicks, a lot of it, because like me and you have gone on other shows, right? Like other shows for other conferences and stuff. What do they ask us about? Quarterback,
Robbie.
Quarterback. We can't get nothing out about defensive tackle or establishing the line of scrimmage. So it's like it could be clicks. That's what drives it. And there sure seems to be a whole bunch of quarterback, content out there. And look, and I get it. Like, it's the most important position on the quarterback. You take Cam Newton off of 2010, that year looks a lot different. So I'm not poo-pooing on any of that. It's just one of them things where it's like, what are we even talking about here? Like, it doesn't seem, and then if you do bring in a guy, like if you do bring in a guy this weekend, it's probably going to be like a backup guy. Like I said, he's not going to be an experienced guy with a whole bunch of reps and this big, the kid from Notre Dame turned on that game versus Marshall. Like, there's a reason why that guy's leaving Notre Dame. There's a reason why he didn't win that job. So he's not guaranteed to win the job at Alabama. Personally, I don't think he will. I think the guys they got there are more talented. And I don't think he's good enough to overcome missing the spring. Like, I just think that's a big deal to consider. And the thing, too, about this portal, bro, 400 kids got left in the cold last year. Like, so I think a lot of kids kind of learned, like, okay, man, I'm not just going to hop in the portal if I don't have something already lined up, or I don't have multiple suitors that I know would take me, and then I'm gonna weed through them and find out which one I want to go to. Listen, I hope he finds a landing spot, but Gordon Powell been tweeting out a whole bunch of tweets about his film and stuff, right? There's a reason for that. His promos probably, like, it's hard, man. It's hard because you're a lot more attractive as a 17-year-old prospect than you are as a 20-year-old that hasn't played in 2 years. Like, it's just kind of that way. It's like, okay, well, you've been there for 2-3 years now, and you haven't gotten. And I'm not talking about Powell specifically because he's only been there for one, and he's a Harsin guy. That kind of stuff's going to happen with a regime change. But like, it's just kind of one of them things, man. Like I said, 400 guys getting left out. You lose your scholarship. You don't get that NIL money. Like, man, it's and then also it's kind of one of the things too where I think there's over time the guys are going to look at it and say it probably benefits you. Like, there are portal situations that work 100%, but there's also going to be a lot that don't. And I think over time, the longer that the portal exists, they're going to have, there's going to be people are going to be able to look at it and say, man, a lot of times at my position, at this situation, it doesn't work out, yada, yada, yada. I just kind of think that's where that's headed. I think it's one of the things that when it first got introduced, it was super enticing. You're 20 years old. You were the man at your town. You were the man at your high school, and now you haven't played in 2 years, and they're not treating me right. I got to hit the portal and all that kind of stuff. And hey, look, you've only got 4 or 5 years max. You got to go maximize your opportunities, and I'm all for kids doing that. But I think a lot of times we'll use Jeffrey Emba for example. Jeffrey Emba was going to get significant reps at a power SEC school. So now he's got to go learn a whole new system. He's probably starting somewhere deeper down on that depth chart than he was with ours. Like, was he a starter? No, but he was definitely a guy that's going to get reps, and he's one injury away from being a starter on that D line, which in the SEC is going to happen. So I just think that sometime, and again, a Harsin guy, remember the video of when he committed, he bro-hugged Harsin and all that kind of stuff. So, I understand that kind of stuff's going to happen when a regime change, but I think a lot of times these kids are kind of hurting themselves if you don't have something automatically lined up. And ultimately, a guy like Emba lands at a Big Ten school in Purdue. But I just think over time, man, like how dead the portal has been this year, I think a lot of guys are just like, nah, I'm going to stay here and fight for reps where I've already established. Because after spring, that's dicey, man.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. And I kind of wanted to switch this thing off of Auburn a little bit and go out west a little bit and talk about some guys who were actually getting left in the cold. And that's out at Colorado, man. Over 50 players have left Colorado since Deion Sanders was named head football coach. Is this all part of the plan, Dustin, of prime time? I know there's been guys who have come out and said, hey, I can't get my film. He's not allowing it. There's been, guys just comment underneath that and say, yeah, me either, dog. Like, he won't give us anything, whatever. It's a weird situation out there. Like I mentioned earlier, Prime is on the Pat McAfee show laughing about it, saying, hey, we knew this was going to happen. It's all part of the plan. We know what kind of luggage we have coming in. It is what it is. We're not worried about it. We're bringing 4 stars. We're bringing 5 stars. Man, some people wanted him at Auburn, Dustin. Some people wanted him at Auburn. And I remember I sent out a tweet. I wish I'd have bookmarked it. And I said, look, I just don't think Prime's the right fit at Auburn. And people said, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? And I'll go on record right here and say the reason I didn't think he was the right fit at Auburn is because the Auburn family prides themselves on that. All right. The alumni, the boosters, the fan base all prides themselves on being one unit, a family. And in my opinion, Deion Primetime Sanders is a me guy. All right. It's about me. It's about Prime. Instead of being called head coach Deion Sanders, it's Coach Prime. All right. It's prime time. All right. He's a me guy. He's always been a me guy. He was a me guy at Florida State. He was a me guy in the NFL. He was a me guy in Major League Baseball. Now he's a me guy. All right. Look at the Jackson State thing. All right. He leaves Jackson State, and then what does he do? He comes out and says, well, y'all stole my wallet and my keys and everything like that. While I was coaching out on the field, I come back in my office and everything's gone. All right. Why didn't we hear that while you were still there? Why didn't we hear about these stories while you were still there? All right. Because you're gone from there now. You're out at Colorado. It just feels like every little interview is recorded. Every weight room session that should not be recorded, in my opinion, it should be private. There's a camera always rolling. And getting to my point, me guy, he wants the camera on him at all times. And in my opinion, with Auburn being a small town, the loveliest village on the plains, priding themselves on family, it just wouldn't have worked. Yes, he can recruit. I get that, man. But would he have gotten along with certain people, man? And there's no way I thought it could happen. That's why we both had him at number 3 on our list, right? We had Lane, Hugh, Deion. All right.
It's significantly behind the first 2.
Yes. And because we talked multiple times about like no shot Deion gets to Auburn. No shot. He just doesn't fit. He doesn't fit what Auburn stands for. And I really, really knew it wasn't happening once the Cadillac buzz heated up. Once the Cadillac buzz heated up, I said, yeah, there's no shot, because Auburn fans are taking Cadillac 10 out of 10 times, right? Like, you're going to ride with the legend that you have, and especially after he revamped the season when you were freaking 3 and whatever, 3 and 6, and I look at this situation out at Colorado, and it's super weird. I know they've picked up a couple guys. I think they picked up a guy from Old Dominion. They picked up a guy from Tennessee in the portal recently. But still, man, you're almost at 60 players now that have hit the portal. How do you feel about this, Dustin?
I mean, there's so much to this because Deion is like, I'll give him this, man. He's a guy that moves the needle. And the reason that we had him at 3 was because if the guy can get recruits to Jackson State, if he can sign top 25 classes And I think he's limited in what he can. I don't think he'll ever be inside the top 10 at Colorado in recruiting. And I might be wrong about that, but I think he'll be able to get some guys out the South. But like what he's going to have to do that's going to be hard for him is he's going to have to travel out of his state constantly and go try to get kids to come to Colorado. Yep. Where at Auburn, you can just go up to Phoenix City. You can just travel down to Mobile. You can just go over to Atlanta. Like, he's got to go so far to recruit, and he's got to win those battles consistently. That's going to be tough, and he will do it. He is a fantastic recruiter. And the reason that we had him at 3 was because our thing was our roster has fallen behind all of our SEC rivals in talent. What would 2 years of Deion recruiting with Auburn resources look like? It'd probably be pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where we were at with that. But ultimately, dude, so I think he's had some limitations and the dedication that he has from Colorado's, like the university. I don't know what their NIL situation is and all that. I think he wanted guys to leave. I don't think he planned on 50. I think there are guys that he wanted to leave that have left, and I think there are some guys that they didn't. Like the guy that was a spring game MVP for them, Auburn. We've offered him. I don't know how serious.
Yeah, the receiver.
Yeah, but his son, the quarterback, he went on Instagram Live and was telling the Colorado fans go spam his social media accounts, asking why he left. So that tells me you were salty and butthurt about it. So you didn't want all of them to leave. So I don't know how they're going to feel these guys. And he was saying like something he was saying on the McAfee show was, I've got my guys lined up. I've got starters already from big time programs that are going to come. Oh, the point I made with the quarterback situation at Auburn, you better get it done this weekend because Sunday's the last day. So if he might have an influx of 40 starters that he's just going to sweep from everybody. One, that's going to raise some serious tampering questions. And then, 2, like, I just doubt highly you're going to pull that off. So we'll see how it goes, man. They're already they're a 1-11 team. Like, I think they were going to win. If he does a really good job this year, they're going to win 4 or 5 games. So
you got them that high?
No, I don't think they will. No, I think they're going to win 2 or 3. But I'm just saying, like, if he does a good job for him, would look like their roster is so depleted. So he's not. If you look out through his career, he's not really a long haul guy. Dallas 49ers switching back. Like he likes to go different places and move fast. So I don't even know how long he's going to, I don't know if he's going to be there long enough. And one final point about when you said he has a camera on everything and that not working for the Auburn family, right? When they lost their bowl game, his last game at Jackson State, the tight end dropped the ball. It was either a 2-point conversion or a touchdown that could have won it, but it was on the goal line. He drops the ball. Now, anybody that's played sports knows you could be in the locker room. That kind of situation needs to stay in the locker room.
Yep.
That doesn't need to be put out nowhere.
Yep.
And they had the cameras rolling, and within 30 minutes of that kid dropping that ball, Deion talking to him crying was all over social media. Like trying to boost him up. So I ask you this, if you're an Auburn fan that kind of wanted that, let's put our boy John Samuel Shanker in that situation. I know this fan base. Y'all would have, and rightfully so, we would have crushed Deion if he was our coach and posted a video of John Samuel Shanker crying after he dropped a ball to lose the Iron Bowl or something. Like that's not cool, man. It's over the line. Did it get a lot of likes? Yes. Did a lot of stupid people that didn't understand what they were looking at comment underneath it and say, that's a good coach right there, man. That's a good mentor coaching up a guy. Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. What you don't do isn't put it out there for the entire country to see, because that's one, it's not genuine. Like it doesn't even. It's like the guys that are rich and then go giving out money and then putting it on social media. Like I don't even take you as a genuine person. Like I like the guy that you got to like hear about it. It's like, oh, this celebrity gets a lot of money, but you didn't even know he does, like Keanu Reeves or something. You know what I mean? Like it just all seems fake, and I just don't buy it. And I said it from the get-go whenever we talked about it back in the day. Well, I say back in the day, but back in November and December. I'm just never going to be a fan personally of people that speak in the third person. It is weird to me. It just turns me off, man. It's weird as hell.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think he's just solely waiting on Florida State to open up. And as soon as that opens up, I think he is out of Colorado. It could be 2 to 3 years, whatever, but I think he is waiting for that job to open up. You know,
I don't think it will, though.
It might not, because they're going to be damn good this year. Well, at least on paper for right now. Let's see. They got LSU in the opener again, so we'll see that and see how that goes. That one was a wild one last year, right? So, yeah, man. I don't know. Deion, just not my cup of tea. He's not. He's just not for me, and I guess that's why I didn't really want him at Auburn. But Dustin, man, we're going to wrap things up here. And I know, look, we're eventually going to get to this Nike and Under Armour deal. We'll try to do that on the next episode, man. But we'll talk about that with the Auburn fans and everything. But I'll leave you with your final thoughts and words, man.
Yeah, we still got plenty of time for that. Unfortunately, the Under Armour contract doesn't run out until 2025. And I say unfortunately, so that tells you where I'm leaning with it. Just shout out, man, to Derek Hall, Owen Popo, Colby Wooten, all those guys tonight. Man, they probably won't get drafted tonight, but this weekend, hope y'all land in a good spot, and just wishing those guys the best to a long, healthy NFL career. And I would love to see the Bucs need a pass rusher. I've seen 2 or 3 mock drafts that have got Derek Hall coming in the 2nd or 3rd round, and so if he wants to join Carlton Davis, KJ Britt, and Jamel Dean, dude, come on down, baby. So just looking forward to the draft, man, and shout out to those guys. We appreciate them, and those are some captains right there, dude, that put up with a lot of crap in their career, and they could have quit this year and they didn't. So I'm forever going to love them for that.
Yeah, man. Great stuff right there, Dustin. Good luck to all those dudes, and thank each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode of this podcast. Like the show, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, pound that like button on the videos, get in the comment section. We would greatly appreciate it if you wanted to chat it up with us. We always respond. We're always there. So just holler at us. And with that being said, we will leave y'all with a War Damn Eagle like always, and we'll catch you on the next one. We're out.